there are people who are dumb and they think they're smarter than they are, but there are also people who are pretty smart. Well, who still think they're smarter than they are.
What happened during the Watergate scandal, every one of the main people around Nixon went into the grand jury and they all testified. I mean, there's a different dynamic going on in a case like this because it's a political case. And so if they go in and they tell the truth, they're toast. That's the end of their political career.
Right.
The whole thing goes down the tube. If they go in and lie, at least they think in their own minds, well, at least we've stopped the damage. It's a whole
and they think they can walk away from it. Let me play, because you bring it up. Here was, on Sunday, Roger Stone speaking in another television interview. Take a look.
There's no circumstance under which I would testify against the president because I'd have to bear false witness against him. I'd have to make things up, and I'm not going to do that.
On the narrow question, is that true, or could he testify accurately and defend the president?
Oh, he can't testify accurately. I mean, he is right in the middle of the soup here. He is the person that is the link between the Russians, between Assange, and Donald Trump. He's the guy that left the campaign in late 2015, supposedly fired under that pretext so he could go out and have the plausible deniability of doing his usual dirty tricks routine for Donald Trump and then come back.
You're alleging his firing was a subterfuge for a planned WikiLeaks collaboration, but do you have specific evidence of that?
Well, we know that he was talking to Donald Trump after he was fired. How many times is somebody fired?
I mean, you don't know. There was a lot of beef. Again, just to be clear about the history, there was a lot of beef between a lot of different Trump aides for a lot of stuff that had nothing to do with WikiLeaks.
Yeah, but for all the beef, he continued to talk to Donald Trump. I mean, that relationship continued straight through. And then what was he doing during that period of time, talking to Guccifer 2.0?
Right. No, that part, I'm just speaking specifically to what you said about his departure.
Right.
Maya, this, of course, raises another question we often ask in Brooklyn, which is, what's beef?
There's so much beef. So let me just go back to a couple points that I think are important. One is Roger Stone is an influence peddler and sells influence peddling. So even if he was honestly and legitimately terminated from the campaign, he would have lots of interest in maintaining his relationship with Donald Trump. Donald Trump will use anybody who will allow him to. So I don't know if Nick is right or wrong. I'm just saying there are multiple ways of looking at it. I do think if you take Roger Stone at his word that he could, which I wouldn't do generally, that he could not testify without bearing false witness against Trump, that means that he has knowledge and information that would connect Trump to possible Russian collusion.
This is important. I want you and then Nick on this point, because you're quoting Mr. Stone, and this is a matter of hot debate, and obviously the Mueller people are thinking about it. He says, I'd have to bear false witness, those words, against Trump. What I take him to allege is that the Mueller folks are demanding answers, and if they don't get the answers they want that are negative about their targets, they put on more pressure. And this has been a right-wing talking point. You're saying it in a different way.
I am. Because what I am saying is, if you cannot answer that question, right? So, look, what we know right now is that he has lied. What the truth is will be uncovered, but that he has lied. He has told inconsistent statements about communications he's had around emails, right, around WikiLeaks. That in and of itself does not directly connect Donald Trump to Russian collusion, right? As far, we all think that there's probably more information and evidence there, but just alone. So unless he is put in a position where he is told that he has to give false evidence, right? So because that false evidence has to go to what Trump knew about emails, and now he's taking the fifth. So he can say talking point, but we know the way that this really works. Robert Mueller's job is to uncover the truth and the evidence and where the evidence leads him.
And not just to catch someone.
And not just to catch someone.
No, I mean, that's absolutely right. I mean, Roger Stone has been a serial liar since the day I met him in 1973 and questioned him in my office.
You did interrogate him in the Watergate probe. People forget that.
That's right. And he has not changed one iota. His demeanor, his way of answering questions, his total lack of candor is absolutely the same.
And constructing false stories, because he has a history of constructing.
And 2017, you know, it wasn't that long ago, but it was long enough ago that I was able to interview you and Roger together.
That's right.
And although Roger has not responded to our recent invites, the invite remains open for him to come on one-on-one or come on with you again, as he did then in those long ago days before the Mueller probe had begun.
And I might say, what he did afterwards, I don't know if I ever told you this, but he actually came up to me after that interview and said, we should go into business together and do talks around the country and charge money to people so they can hear us debate.
He said that to you?
Yeah. And I said,
and what did you say to him?
I said, are you crazy? No way. I mean, this is a guy who you would not trust with anything for a second.
So you wouldn't go into business with Roger Stone?
I would never go into
business. Well, that's another headline tonight.
I'm so glad to hear that.
I think Roger Stone wanted to get the old gang together with Manafort, and he had access because of that. And these two guys hoped they'd repair whatever their reputation and standing was in the world.
They certainly thought that installing Donald Trump as president was going to be better for their business. And
Roger Stone
is why they say what they do.
I've got to finish a break, but most of you are coming back. Okay. Nick, my thanks to you. Maya and John, I want to have you back later in the hour to discuss why Michael Cohen is invoking Willie Nelson and DMX in his new sentencing memo defense. If you don't know what that means, you two will explain it. Also, new details tonight about this secret Paul Manafort trip to try to free WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. And later, as promised, I have a special report on what federal corruption law says about that potential Putin penthouse. And what does Michael Cohen have to do, as I mentioned, with John Travolta, Willie Nelson, and DMX? I'm going to break down the bizarre legal defense that Michael Cohen has made in court. And if there is DMX barking, we'll deal with it too. We'll deal with whatever facts come in. I'm Ari Melber. You're watching The Beat on MSNBC.